Have you ever wanted to help others, but you weren't exactly sure how? Well, Dan is here to share his story of how he has used Grizzly Medical to not only inspire, but also help others. And I'm truly excited for you to hear everything that God is doing in and through this organization. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dan.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad that I came across your Instagram account.
I know, it's a small world.
Yeah, it's really interesting how God brings people together nowadays.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of stalking of your Instagram page. You have some great content on there. I highly suggest you guys go check it out. And what's the name of the Instagram account again?
Oh, it's Grizzly Medical.
Grizzly Medical. So you guys can go check that out. And for those who don't know what Grizzly Medical is, how would you describe it?
Well, we're a training company, and we just teach people trauma medicine. I was in the military beforehand, and we used to teach this thing called CLS, which grew into this program called TCCC, Tactical Casualty Combat Care. And so I took that, and I just made a civilian version, and, just give people tools to save lives.
How many years did it take for you once you got out of the military to decide that you wanted to do Grizzly Medical?
Well, I got out in 2013, and after that, I tried going to college, and it was great. And then I decided to go to a private contracting school called ESI. And while I was there, they were teaching a medical program, and I happened to they picked me up, and they're like, yeah, you're good at what you do, and they let me help instruct, and so that kind of got me, wanting to do it again. And then while I was there, I was offered a contract to go to Eastern Europe to teach TCCC and weapons handling. I taught the pistol and the rifle.
Wow.
And while I was there, I just kept developing the program. And after that, I came back. I went to Sac State. I got my EMT B for the second time.
I'm at Sac State too.
Yeah.
No, I'm still there.
Oh, nice.
I'm still there.
You
I
will
have 3
be.
semesters left, yeah.
But you're going to be.
Yes,
and,
I hope so. That's the plan. I just got to get through the next 3 semesters.
Yeah, you're right there.
Right.
And so I graduated, I got my certificate from them. And after that, a couple things happened, and it made me realize that there's a huge gap in the EMS system here. Mm-hmm. And one of the main things was what happened to San Leandro when, like I said, it was kind of one of those things like, I was doing something else, but, God puts you where he needs you and kind of puts you on a path. And as much as, not that you want to stray from it or anything like that, but, he keeps you on that path, and it just reminded me, what I wanted to do with my life. And basically what happened, this gentleman, he got attacked. Well, 2 of them got attacked outside of my work in San Leandro while I was a security guard. And one of them, he passed away before I had a chance to do anything. And, as I watched him take his last breaths, there was a group of people around him, and no one was helping him. And they were just taking pictures with their phones. And
That's so sad.
Yeah, and the second gentleman, I didn't realize he was even injured because he was wearing a rain jacket, and it was holding all the blood in. And when and so there was a white car, and he walked up, and he passed out, and he fell, and he streaked his hand across the white car. And that's when I noticed. I was like, okay, something's happening for him. And so I went, and like I said, I was a medic in the military, so I just went, like I said, God prepares people for certain things, and it just, he gave me, this, I just get lucky and help people, and he put me in this position. And so when I went to go put the tourniquet on him, his arm had been cut from here down so bad that his arm was open. And so as I went to slide the tourniquet on, my hand went inside of his body, and that's when I realized, okay, so a tourniquet's not going to work. And so then, like I said, I knew what to do, so I went to my car, and I always carry medical equipment. Even to this day, I have a bunch of stuff in my car. And so I got this stuff called Hemostatic Agents, and what it does is helps create coagulation inside the body. And so I ran back to him, and I started to take his jacket off so I can see the wound and see what was happening. And while I was doing that, there was a group of people taking pictures and videos, and I was asking one of them specifically, because I was sitting there tugging on him because the guy went unconscious, and the last thing he told me is, I'm going to die. And I was just thinking, like, I'm not going to let this happen. and so I was just tugging on it, and there's this guy right there, and he was filming it, and I was like, help me, please, like, help me get the clothes off him. And he just said, no, man, I'm just filming it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so this whole experience that you had, this actually inspired you to start Grizzly Medical? Or it was kind of already in the process by then?
It was something that I wanted. Well, not really. Like you said, it was more of an inspiration from that point. Well, not really this event, but kind of the next day. Because I had to speak. Like when I was in the military overseas, when something would happen, you wouldn't have time to think about it. And, I wouldn't talk to the families. And so it's just kind of like, that happened, it's over, we got missions. And then, but the next day I went back to work, and the mother of the gentleman who passed away and his fiance came in, and they want to speak to me, and I had to tell them what I saw, because I couldn't lie to someone about their son's last moment on earth. And I had to tell them that there was people just standing around, and
how did your faith help you in that instance?
Well, I was, like I said, it was like an inspiration, because I was like, well, maybe these people just didn't have the tools, because I would hope better of people, and I always have that benefit of the doubt, and so now I just want to give people the tools so they can help people, rather than just, stand there.
Exactly. Were you a believer prior to going into the military?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. I grew up Catholic, baptized, all that stuff, and it was, and some things that happened when I was in Iraq. I had a chaplain, and who was an amazing person, and one of my friends, he passed away, and it was a tough time for me, and he was just there, and he guided me, and like I said, he kind of put me on that path, and my chaplain would always tell me, he was like, God put you here, he put you on the right path, he because he knows what he's doing, and it took me a while to, understand that and figure out, this is where I'm supposed to be. And, it feels right. Like when I'm doing something like teaching and started this program, it feels like, okay, this is why I'm here. I feel passionate about it.
Where do you see Grizzly Medical going within the years to come?
Oh, I want to be the next CPR. That's how big I want to be, because everyone needs this training. Because, CPR, right, it treats heart attacks. But what happens about trauma? So pretty much the leading cause of death for people under 45 is trauma, hemorrhaging. From extremity hemorrhaging is the number one thing that we can treat. I didn't know that. Yeah, and so I want to give people the tools, because it's one of the worst things in the world, watching someone bleed to death. And you had mentioned in our conversations through Instagram that you really want this to be a group training for churches. And the events that we've seen in Texas and other places. With all the shootings, yeah, with all the shootings, specifically targeting churches and mosques and synagogues and all this stuff. And so I want to give people, like I said, the tools to save lives, because everyone thinks, I have a security team, okay? These guys have weapons. That's great. But even if somebody pulls
Some churches don't even have security teams.
Yeah, and I mean, that's, it's sad that we have to live in a world where that's a necessity, and, but it's one of those things we can't shy away from, in the sense that you need to look it in the face, because if you say, well, we don't need this, or, it's kind of setting yourself up for failure. Is Grizzly Medical your full-time job, or are you doing other things as well? I still do armed guard work, and but literally all the money I make there just goes right into my program. And I do a lot of, I just teach for free pretty much. And like I'm saying, I'm just trying to get the word out. Do you have other people who are also a part of your team, or are you just a one-man guy? Well, the way it works is like I have regional medics. And so I have people in Colorado, Texas, in South Carolina, New York, and Missouri. And so they're all people that I worked with and I trust And so they're like the regional medics. They set up courses, and then I go out there and we do modulars out of a box.
Oh.
So it's very mobile, you know.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
About how many people have you been able to train thus far?
Well, when I was overseas, I taught about probably 100 something. And when I was in Iraq, we taught the Peshmerga, which are the Kurdish fighters, and then we taught Iraqi medics.
I wish I would have had you bring stuff on set and show.
Oh, I have.
That would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Do you have videos or anything like that on your Instagram
Yeah.
of kind of what you do?
Yeah, I do.
Fantastic. Okay.
And I have the footage from San Leandro because,
Okay.
you know.
Well, I will have Dan send me that content, and then we will get it up on shastasjourney.com and my social media handles, so you guys can check out some more
Yeah, that'd be
exclusive
great.
content.
Yeah. And and then after I came back from Iraq, I was still in the military for 2 years, and I would train soldiers who are going to deploy at this Mystic Center. And it's the most state-of-the-art thing in the military. It was so fun. Inside, you know, we would run them through their paces and teach them. And they had these dummies that would breathe and move, and they had eyes that would follow your eyes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How do you feel like God is really using Grizzly Medical to help you help others?
Well, pretty much, like I said, he gave me the tools. And, like I said, it's kind of like every time I was, trying to do something else or want to study something else, he would just bring me back to the path.
And how do you keep him at the center of your life with everything that's going on?
Well, it's just that faith you have. And the faith, that's what drives me forward, is being passionate. And every time I question myself, it's kind of like that voice that drives me forward and says, you're on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. And I try and just, listen to that.
And what types of things can people do to reach out to you? You said that you were actually offering these trainings for free, correct?
Yeah, for certain. Well, like I said, right now I'm offering it. I'm teaching a police department I'm actually flying out tonight to South Carolina to teach a police department, and then we're teaching at Arsenal City. It's a gun range, and then I'm also on the 30th. I'm actually teaching to a church in Fairview Church in South Carolina.
Wow, lots of traveling.
Yeah, and so
great.
what we're doing there is we're bringing in all the regional security teams. Literally, like my friend, he's really, he's one of the people in that security team, and he reached out to all the local churches, and so we're going to try and get as many people as we can in there and get them some good training. So, I mean, it's one of those things that I pray that no one has to use it, but I want to give them the tools. So if need be, they're not just going to sit, they're not going to have to watch someone they love bleed out.
I can't imagine seeing the stuff that you have personally seen within your walk of life. Do you believe that you have been able to process it and kind of overcome those situations because of your faith?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, every time, he puts you in positions where he knows that that's where you're supposed to be.
You're capable.
Yeah. And I'm just happy that I was there and able to do something.
Hands and feet. You're the hands and feet of Jesus.
I mean, I don't,
No, that's what we are called to do. We are called to be the body.
And that's, and sometimes, when I work on somebody, it's like a third person. I just goes back into training and I just, do what I have to do. And
did you have a hard time getting out of the military and going into civilian life?
Yeah, it was a hard transition, and, it's like leaving all your friends from high school, you know what I mean? It's tough.
I didn't have many friends in high school. So no, I don't know.
Well, it's like, I'm trying to,
I'm sure a lot of people can relate, though.
It was a tough transition. And like I said, I lost purpose in my life. And I tried.
You lost purpose once you went.
I left the military.
Oh, okay.
And once I left, I lost purpose, and I went to college and I tried to find something. And like I said, he found me and put me back on the path, and that's how it's just been. And I would try different things. And
so it wasn't until you fixed your eyes on Jesus when you finally decided, okay, I'm not going where I need to be.
Yeah, and like I said, it was just yeah, I didn't know
Most
I was
definitely.
lost in the world, and I was trying college and trying different things, and just
I can imagine a lot of people who get out of the military deal
Yeah.
with the same feelings.
yeah, because I mean, to me, there was nothing more important than saving soldiers' lives and then teaching them how to come back home, like giving them, like I said, the same tools, and that was always, I guess, a gift that I always had to teach
Help
people.
others.
Well, specifically medicine. I don't know about much else. And so, like I said, I was trying college and just wasn't working for me. And one of my friends, who I was really close to, reached out to me because he see me, having a hard time, and he kind of, like I said, just kind of put me in the path. And like you said, you just meet people, and it's just, that's your path in life. And I don't know how to explain it, but he put you where you're supposed to be.
100%.
Yeah, and so like I said, my friend, he said, hey, you should try out this school. I think you'll like it. And when I happened to go there, then they seen, oh, this guy's good at medical. And then it just led me to where I am today. So, I mean, if I didn't listen to, what was inside about finding my purpose, then I don't know
What
where I'd be.
advice do you have for soldiers who are transitioning back into civilization, or for those who have already transitioned, or for
Yeah.
those who are about to transition?
Just, well, number one is have a plan, and then just find something you love and follow it. I mean, like right now, I'm not making money, but it's something that I love and I believe in. And so all my money from my real job is going into my company.
A lot of people who I've talked to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
And eventually,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah.
And do what you love.
Exactly. And, I just feel like when you put good energy out there and you get it back, and that's, I mean, look, I'm here talking to you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. God is good. Man, what type of, I know that God's doing so many incredible things through you. So how does it feel to be able to not only train and equip people and prepare them? I mean, how fulfilling is that?
It's like I said, it gives me purpose. It gives me fulfillment, and that's where he put me. Like I keep reverting back to that path, but that's just in my mind. That's the only thing I can think of. Because it's, there's struggle and there's hardship, but without that, I wouldn't be who I am. And he put me where I was supposed to be because I was capable, and he made me, gave me the tools to be capable, and I was just blessed. And I'm glad that it was me there. And I was able to save somebody, help people.
And tell me a little bit more about how you came to know God and your journey with that.
Well, like I said, when I was younger, it was, we go to church, Awanas. I don't know if you remember that thing. That one was fun. We would go to the Santa Cruz Awana camp.
Yeah, they have that.
Yeah, and so we'd go out
kind
there.
of everywhere.
Yeah, and I always have fun out there. And then, like I said, when I went to the military.
So you grew up in a church and.
Yeah,
Off and on.
Off and on.
Yeah.
Not because we didn't want to or anything like that, just life.
Yeah.
And when I went to the military, that's when every Sunday we would go to, I would go to church. And then when I was in Iraq, things happened.
So they actually have like a chapel or something there?
Yeah, they have a chapel,
Great.
beautiful chapel, and great services, and they have.
We got the worship. We got.
Yeah, they had
sermons,
chaplains.
Everything.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
It was great, and we had these things called chaplains, and man, those guys are great. They would bring you to the front lines.
Yeah.
He was with us, like when we would go on missions, he would come out, and we all circle around and have a good prayer, and then we go out and do our things.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was it was always real powerful. I would still remember just sitting there and just listening to him and just feeling like
The presence of God. Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially when you're doing something like that, it's kind of when you do something dangerous. you know, all you have is faith, because at any time it can just go south. And you kind of have to, you know, if it's your time, you know, this is where you're supposed to be type stuff.
Did you ever have like a scare moment where you thought that was going to be your last breath?
The first day I got there, we were getting off the airplane and we were walking with our bags. And I seen this thing coming and it hit. So basically there's these barricades where you're supposed to go when there's like rocket attacks, and it's like these big cement things. And I just see one just blow up and then collapse. And I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, man, what the heck is happening? And then one of the guys who had been deployed before says, rockets, get down. And so I had the bag on the front, 2 bags, and then bag on my back. So I just kind of like flopped on top of my bags and then watched these rockets just come in and start, you know, hammering the base. And so I was just like, well, welcome to Iraq. You know, they just came to say hello, you know.
Dang.
Yeah, and that was just like the first hour. And then...
that was just like the first hour. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, people have had it way worse than me. I can't complain about anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the, like, big moments where I didn't realize how much danger I was in is another, because basically, so there's this system that scans and it tells you if there's mortars, but mortars arc high. So what they do is they'll shoot rockets that arc low, and so there's no warning. And so I live like 100 meters away from the gym, and me and the doctor, we were sitting there talking about something, and we heard the gym get hit with like 2 or 3 rockets. And so he's like, okay, like, we looked at each other. He said, grab your aid bag. He says, I'm going to go, because he was wearing flip-flops. He's like, I'm going to put my shoes on. We're going to head in there. So I grabbed my gear. And I'm running in there in shorts and a T-shirt, because that's, you know, what I had on at the time. And I'm looking for people, you know, because I didn't know if anyone was in there when the rockets hit. And thank God no one was in there. And, you know, it was all smoky and on fire and stuff. And so me and him, we searched the whole building. And then we hear some guy on the top of the roof saying, get out, get out. One of the rockets was still in there and it was live. Yeah, so, you know.
Well, praise God that you're still here to live to share the story.
Well, I mean, there's no other reason. You know, I should have died multiple times from whatever, you know. But like I said, you know, he gave me a purpose, so.
God has definitely molded and shaped you into the man that you are today.
Yeah, and I just try and live up to it.
What other hardships has God allowed you to overcome over the years?
Oh, I mean, you know, there's plenty. A lot of my friends, you know, suicide was like a big thing, sadly. But I think a lot of that comes from losing, you know, when you have the most purposeful job in the world is, you know, taking care of soldiers, and then you just come out and then you go home and there's nothing for you. You know, it's kind of...
How do you heal from that, Dan?
I don't really have an answer. It's different for everyone. And, you know, for me, I got lucky and found purpose. And like I tell, you know, any other soldier who's coming home or anything like that, you know, find your purpose again. Because there is another purpose. There is another greater task. You know, you just got to find that path. You know, just listen.
Absolutely. Are you looking for others to also help you make Grizzly Medical happen?
Yeah, and I've been meeting great people, like you said. And I met you, and now we're here interviewing. You know?
Yeah.
And like I said, and a lot of people reached out to me over over Instagram and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just been an amazing experience so far. So I'm just going to keep after it and, you know, try and get this trained in people's hands who need it. But hopefully they never have to use it. But at the same time, I'd rather them have it and not need it than need it.
Has anybody that you've trained needed it? Like, not needed it, but like have to use it so far?
I mean, some of the soldiers, not that I know of, because a lot of the guys, you know, when we work at the Mystic Center, there were different units. So, you know, I didn't really get to know them that well. So they would come in, we'd train a unit, and then they'd head out.
Is this something, do you think that you could train people, like, does it have to be in person, like hands-on, or is this something that you could even like make into a YouTube channel, like into different...
Me personally, I'm a very hands-on person because I would hate to have a, you know, someone see something on the internet and then not do it properly, and then, you know, someone loses their life because of That's why I like to be very hands-on, and like when I teach my classes, I'm very hands-on. And a lot of our classes are very, very didactic, very hands-on learning. And the reason why we do that is because if I don't pressure you, and if I don't make sure that you do it correctly, then I feel like I'm selling you short. I'm not giving you a fair chance, because you're going to go into this fight, thinking,
that you know
what you're doing, and then you're sitting there and you're like,
How
why is
does
this
somebody
stopping?
remember that anyways? Do you think it will just like
Pressure.
come back to them?
Pressure.
Or? Okay.
Well, basically, because people think that they're going to, when the occasion comes, I'm going to rise to it. But reality is you fall to your base, your lowest base of training. And so that's why when my course is 8 hours, so for the 4 hours is just classroom. Very slow, very controlled. We teach you how to do certain tasks. And then after that, we'll have a nice lunch, let you relax, and then what we do is crawl, walk, run. And so basically the crawl is, okay, we're going to bring you in as a group, you're going to watch somebody perform tasks, all right? And we're not going to pressure you too much, all right? And then you're going to do them and perform. Build a little bit of confidence. The next one's the walk stage. And the walk, okay, we're going to put a little bit of pressure on you, okay, talk to you a little bit, all right? And then the run stage is, we have fireworks, loud music, fake blood, and we're spraying you. And the reason why is not just for theatrics, because it's proven that once your heart, it's called the gray, and once your heart rate reaches over 160, you lose fine motor skills.
No.
And so what I want you to do is get you to the point where you think you can't perform, and then show you that you can. And so that way,
powerful.
Yep. So
Very
that
powerful.
way, once you're in that position, okay, you felt it before. You know what it's like to panic. You know what it's like to, see that incident happen. And we have moulage, like, the fake injuries and stuff. And because we want you to know what it's like.
That sounds like, such an amazing training and tools that you have to help others. And we actually only have a few minutes left, about 2, but I wanted to ask you, what types of things can people be doing to help you? Like, do you need people to donate? You need them to pray? Like, how can people be invested into what God is doing in your walk of life?
Wow, just, help me get set up classes. That's all I really need, is just for people.
So the more people you can teach, the better.
Yeah. And then, I don't want you to lie. And once you take my class, I just believe once you take the course, you'll spread it organically, because you're going to say people are going to need this training. And that's what I want. All I need is just someone to take the class and then, feel for themselves. And if they don't believe in it, then, by all means, I'm not going to tell you to sell something that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
But everyone that I've taught, actually, like you said, crossing paths, I met 2 people that were in the Vegas shooting, and I taught them my course. And they said, one of them was he was running the security, and he said that would have saved lives.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dan, for being on the show. You were absolutely incredible. And thank you guys for watching Shasta's journey and being a part of what God's doing in my life. And if you were taught, healed, or inspired by Dan's story, please go to his Instagram, Grizzly Medical. Check it out. He has a lot of content on there about what is God doing, through his organization. I'd love to hear you guys' stories. Go to shastasjourney.com. And remember that you have a purpose and that God wants to use you for something so much bigger than you could ever imagine. And don't forget that there's so many good things out there for you guys. God bless.